Hey guys, this is Clay at Gun Sports, and today we're going to install a reduced power trigger return spring and replace the trigger roll pin with a floating trigger pin. So I got these from Cajun Gun Works, and I got a couple at a time, but these are the trigger return spring, and they're bent to make it a little bit easier to install, and it's supposed to reduce the trigger pull about a half a pound or so. So we'll check that and see how that turns out after we install it. Also, the trigger pin, this is what they call a free floating trigger pin. The one that comes in the gun is a roll pin, and it comes with two. This is the slave pin that makes it a little bit easier to install, and then this is a solid pin, which is probably a little more durable than the roll pin that comes with it. So we're going to check the trigger pull like it is out of the box. I've only shot this about 40 or 50 times, so it hasn't been shot very much. It's empty, and we'll just see kind of straight out of the box what it comes set. So this is single action. That says 3 pounds, 2.2 ounces. We'll do it a couple of times and see what we get. Three pounds, 2.8. 3 pounds, 3 ounces. All right, so that's single action. So let's see what it is in double action. Says 7 pounds, 10 ounces. £7.6. Okay, so we'll go ahead and break the gun down and get started in replacing these parts. This is the reverse plug. All right, so we'll set that to the side. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is we'll knock out this roll pin and take the trigger out, or the spring out, and the trigger pin out, and replace it. There it goes. All right, and that is, if you can see it or not, that's a roll pin. So I don't know if you can see or not, but the trigger return spring in my right hand looks like it might be just a little bit coarser wire than the reduced trigger return spring. Now, in the package with the new floating trigger pin, it has a slave pin, and that's what you install inside the new return spring so it stays lined up inside the mechanism, so you can push the new pin in and it pushes this one out the other side to make it a lot easier to install. Okay, so what I've done is I held the spring in there, in this groove right here, and you put the short arm down and the long arm goes in that groove, and then I pushed the slave pin in to hold it there. Okay, so what I'll do next is I will get the new pin, and while it's held in place there, I'll push it in. It'll push the slave pin out the other side, and then it'll be in place. All right, so this is the new pin that is started in place. This is the slave pin that is starting to stick out right there, and then we'll just punch it on through. there's the slave pin right there. Needs just a little bit more. There. All right, so we'll reassemble it, put it back together, and see how it works and how much less the trigger pull weight is. Okay, single action, the trigger pull weight is 8.8. There's 2.9. So before we replaced the trigger return spring, it averaged between 3.2 and 3.4 pounds on single action. 2.9. 2.9. 2.8. After we replace the spring, it looks like that it's somewhere between 2.8 and 2 pounds and 11 ounces. So it is a little less than the trigger return spring that it comes with. Now for double action, before we replaced the spring, it was anywhere from 7.6 to 7.4. And so double action, 7 pounds and 0.5 ounces. 6 pounds, 0.14. 7 pounds, 0.5. 6 pounds, 14 ounces. So even that's a little bit less, not a lot, but it's a little bit less. There's 7.1. So it does reduce the trigger pull a few ounces, and it's supposed to be a little bit more durable spring in it. So this is the Cajun Gunworks reduced power trigger return spring and their floating trigger pin that is a solid pin and probably a little bit more durable. I bought 3 of them at a time, and what's neat about these, if you can see it, is that the spring is pre-bent to make it a whole lot easier to install. The factory pins and some of the other CZs, both of these arms are beside each other like that, and it's really hard to get them spread apart to get it installed, or it was for me. Maybe someone else could do it better, but these are just first try. It just takes a few seconds to slip it in and push the slave pin out, and then it works great.